This is the Kenwood KTC-500DAB car radio adapter. It receives DAB and DAB Plus radio stations, has Bluetooth for music streaming, and can be used for hands-free calls. In this video we'll install the adapter, look at the features and see how it works on the road. The box has got everything that we need to install the adapter in the car. We've got the antenna there, which already has some cables connected to it. We've got the wireless controller, that's got some AAA batteries and a bracket to mount it to the dashboard. We've got the microphone for hands-free calling, a power adapter to go in the 12-volt socket, and there's also some cable clips here, and we've got the instruction manual as well. DAB adapters like this tend to be the cheapest and easiest ways to start listening to digital radio stations in a car. As an add-on adapter, you don't need any tools to install the device and the existing car radio stays in place. Before we can switch on the adapter, we need to install the antenna and the hands-free microphone by following the fitting instructions. The microphone is plugged into the antenna unit and then clipped onto the headlining or sun visor. The cable comes over to the passenger side of the windscreen where the antenna will go. The top of the antenna unit has a grounding magnet. This needs to be inserted behind the headlining with the shiny side going onto the roof. Before sticking on the antenna, the windscreen needs to be cleaned and left to dry. A small wipe is included in the box for this. Next, the self-adhesive antenna is stuck onto the windscreen. As the aerial uses a magnet to ground to the car, it's easier to install than a normal windscreen aerial. With those sorts of antennas, you would need to remove the A-pillar trim to get access to the metal bodywork. Next, the film antenna is clipped in and stuck on to the windscreen. The manual does mention the best place to position this. Coming from the top of the antenna are two cables. We have one for power, that has the USB plug on it, and then there's this one, the mini jack, that's for audio. So the power connection, that needs to come across to the 12-volt socket in the center console. The audio plug, that needs to go into the glove box where the car has an aux-in socket. I'm going to bring them down the A-pillar. If there is space, the cables will just tuck in behind the trim, but in the box there are some little cable clips. So these have a self-adhesive pad on the back, and the cable will just tuck into those, and you can just position those on the windscreen as you need to. For cars without an aux-in socket, the audio cable can be routed with the power cable and tucked out of the way. The supplied 12-volt adapter is plugged in with the USB plug, which will power the antenna. Then in this car, the 3.5mm jack is plugged into the aux-in socket in the glove box. The next stage is to choose a location for the wireless controller. The bracket has a sticky pad on the back, so I'm just going to find a good place around the radio and stick this on. One of the good things about this adapter is that the controller is wireless. It means you don't have wires running off for the aux-in or for the power or to the aerial, and it means you can get the best position for the adapter. So I think that that's going to work well there. I'm going to stick that on now. The bracket sticks well, and so far there's no sign of it coming loose. If you'd prefer to place the controller on top of the dashboard, there is enough adjustment in the bracket to do that. Two AAA batteries are used to power the wireless controller. The manual doesn't say how long the batteries will last. For the similar Pure Highway models, Pure says they should last for several months. When the ignition is turned on for the first time, the controller prompts to choose a language, the line out setting, in this case using the aux cable rather than FM, and then it scans for digital stations. If you're using the FM option, it will display the frequency that you need to tune into. Initially, the DAB adapter found fewer stations than expected. After checking the antenna connections and repositioning the magnetic grounding tail, it did find all of the stations we would normally see on a car radio here. Overall, the installation is quite easy compared to fitting other types of DAB aerial and radio. The antenna looks a bit chunky here. In other cars it might be possible to position it a bit higher on the windscreen. The adapter is set up and we're in the DAB mode at the moment, currently tuned into Magic Soul. You can see on the display that we get the short version of the radio station name, but that does allow the text to be a little bit larger, and there's good contrast as well. It's easy to see what the station is that you tuned into or what station you are tuning into. Tuning is done with this select dial in the centre. That turns to the left and the right to choose a different station, and then you scroll through the stations alphabetically. So that makes it pretty easy to find what you're looking for, and then push in the select dial to choose the station that you want to listen to. The tuning is quite quick. It's pretty easy to do that as you're driving along. Go back to Magic Soul. Something I would set up is presets. If you have some favourite stations that you like to listen to, you'll then be able to go through those with the backwards and forwards buttons. And that's what I've been doing driving around recently, is having some stations in the list, and then you just press the button once and it will tune into the station. You don't need to press the select dial again. And because you can just feel where those buttons are, you don't need to look at the device to change through the stations that you're listening to, which again makes it a little bit easier. If you want to listen to music over Bluetooth, you can do that through the Bluetooth mode. I've already paired up a smartphone with the adapter, and what we can do is press the source button, come across to BT Music, and it's going to pick up from the last thing I was listening to, which is Spotify, and there you can see the title and the artist. It is scrolling that across the screen because there isn't enough space to fit it on. You can use the forwards and back buttons on the adapter on the controller, which is good, so you don't have to touch your smartphone, and then you get the artist and title shown on the display. If your phone has a voice assistant, you can use that by pressing and holding the voice button. Play my disco playlist on Spotify. And then you can see it started a different playlist in Spotify. Something you can try as well if you have different apps is you can ask your voice assistant to switch over to those. So let's try going on the voice button again. Play the Moneybox podcast with Pocket Casts.
Music, radio, podcast. Hello, welcome to this Moneybox podcast. People on
and you can see it started that playing off as well, and you get a bit of information on the display. So that's probably one of the most useful features with the Bluetooth mode, is that you can have your phone in your pocket, and as long as you've got the files on the phone or you've got data, then you can be streaming things like that. Hands-free calls over Bluetooth is pretty similar to a lot of Bluetooth adapters if you've used one in the car before. You can come onto the source, go over to phone book, and then you've got the normal options of dialed, received, missed calls and contacts. So you can go through there, scroll through your contacts and then start a phone call. Call quality is quite good even with the FM mode on the car radio, and the microphone sounds okay as well. While driving, the reception of DAB radio stations is very good. There was no break-up at all of the majority of stations while driving in town and on country roads. In a known weak spot, the adapter did lose some stations for a few seconds, but they did come back without needing to touch the controller. This also happened with the Shinichi S100 we reviewed on the same stretch of road.
Caused him more trouble than many others. Did you see it that way? How did he feel before the stoppage? Saunders fought for.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think the two things I took away before the fight.
On the box and in the back of the manual, it's mentioned that the device is powered by Pure, and there are many similarities with the established highway range. The KTC-500DAB comes with the digital radio tick mark to show that it's been tested and approved by Digital Radio UK. For just under £80, the Kenwood KTC-500DAB is a very good DAB adapter and well worth considering. See the description below the video for the full review, as well as a link to buy. Thank you very much for watching this review. Subscribe to see more videos about DAB in cars when they're uploaded.